Namaste Pooja, Namaste Saili. Great to see you.
Namaste.
Same here. Namaste.
Good to see you, Saili.
Hello, everyone.
Are we about to start?
Sure. Okay, let's get started then. So thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Pooja Keswani and I'm delighted to have all of you here. Welcome. This session is specifically dedicated to ask questions to our nutrition experts who I'll introduce soon. And the topic is Let Food Be Your Medicine. So in the past webinars, we could not take all the questions in the interest of time. So we thought, let's have a dedicated session for this. So I hope you will make the most of it and ask all the difficult questions to our experts today. So this is presented to you by Sattva, which is our initiative towards spreading awareness on how natural eating, which is also plant-based nutrition, can heal our bodies naturally, leading us to a holistic well-being. So I'll proceed to introduce our panelists. I'm very happy to have Dr. Vikram Patarkine with us today. Most of you might have already heard him in the earlier webinars or even seen his videos. He does a lot of sessions on diet purification and Bhagavad Gita as well. So Dr. Vikram is a PhD in environmental engineering from Virginia Tech, USA. He is CEO of Peace USA, which he's set up as an independent consulting practice to provide environmental stewardship strategies and solutions. He's an avid follower and promoter of natural plant-based diet, and we'll hear more about it when he answers our questions today. He mentors those who are interested in following this lifestyle, not just for their personal health, but also our planet's sustainability. He's a yoga practitioner for 4 decades now and a keen student of application of Vedanta principles in our daily lives. So thank you, sir, for taking time for our session today. I'm happy to introduce Ms. Saili Pitre. She brings in an interesting perspective on this topic. She's Masters in Nutrition and Dietetics from University of Pune with an extensive hands-on experience in this field for more than 13 years now. She's worked with patients from various hospitals, from cancer hospitals, cardiac, orthopedic, and nursing homes, and also provided tailored meals based on their nutritional needs. She provides nutritional guidance to more than 400 corporate employees and school students. She herself is a follower of plant-based diet and regularly practices yogasanas, pranayam for overall well-being. So thank you, Saili. It will be interesting to hear from you today. So we'll kick off the session now. So over to you, Saili, to hear some thoughts from you on Let Food Be Your Medicine.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome to this session. Thank you, Pooja. So yes, let food be your first medicine and let kitchen be your first pharmacy, I can say. So we are blessed with different kind of herbs and different kind of cooking methods and different kind of plant-based like dhania, your pudina availability in our Indian houses. And nowadays other part of other part of the world on the globe, they are also taking over it. So we all are used to using all this dhania patta, all this pudina for some kind of medicinal things also, and yes, of course, for some homemade remedies also. So there are n number of benefits to this plant-based diet. I would like to start with this session with some of the discussion which will help you to understand how this plant-based diet works. Shall we start, Dr. Patarkine?
Yes.
Yes. So let's start with the discussion on plant-based diet with digestion and how this plant-based diet works. The combination and the fiber intake and everything. Let's start with this part.
Okay, so definitely I'll talk about this, but even before that, let me take one step back and I'll talk briefly about let food be thy medicine. You see, why do we eat food? We eat food because we want to satisfy our hunger. Every animal, every organism, every human being will feel hunger. And to satisfy that hunger, we have to eat food. So therefore, the very first dis-ease we have, or an absence of ease, is hunger. And to overcome that dis-ease of hunger, food is to be eaten like a medicine. Now, say if we go to a doctor and the doctor prescribes us some medicine and he says, okay, you should take one tablet in the morning and one tablet in the evening. And if you love the taste of the tablet, will you eat the entire bottle? You will not, right? So if we treat food in this manner as a medicine to cure the disease of hunger, then digestion happens well and everything else happens well. So I'll tell you how digestion is helped by plant-based food. You see, every living cell, the smallest unit of every living entity is a biological cell, right? Each biological cell contains the enzymes necessary to auto-digest itself. So when we eat live biological material, in our case, I promote natural diet. I eat natural diet, which comprises fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, sprouts, all things natural. These are live foods. Live foods will contain the enzymes necessary for digestion. When we consume these live foods, then the enzymes necessary to digest that food will be obtained from the food itself. If we cook the food or if we process the food, then the enzymes necessary to digest that material, the cooked material or the processed material, we will have to synthesize those enzymes from within us. So that process takes a bit longer to digest. That is why processed food will take longer to digest and natural food will be easier to digest. So when we eat natural food, then digestion is much easier. The other important aspect in digestion is we should be hungry when we eat, because our body has given a signal to us that now the body has secreted the digestive enzymes, it is ready to accept the food, and that is only when we should eat food. Otherwise we should not eat food.
So sorry to interrupt on this. So shall we a little bit tell them that this enzymes, they will start secreting once they chew it for a long time. You know, it starts from their mouth. So this is the basic part. What are I can say everywhere people are used to eating food in front of TV or in front of any of the screen, and they hardly chew and they gulp it. You know, so even if they are, and they forget how much they are eating. So
correct, that is absolutely true. See, in our culture, especially in Maharashtrian culture, before eating, we say a prayer.
yeah.
वदनी कवळ घेता नाम घ्या श्रीहरीचे, सहज हवन होते नाम घेता फुकाचे, जीवन करी जीवित्वा अन्न हे पूर्ण ब्रह्म, उदर भरण नोहे जाणीजे यज्ञ कर्म. So udara bharana nohe जाणीजे यज्ञ कर्म. What does that mean? This process is not simply filling up our stomach. This process is yajna karma. It's a sacrificial offering to the digestive fire within our stomach. That is how, if we eat in this manner, then see, first of all, when we eat natural food, by default, we have to chew it. You cannot gulp your food unless you chew it. All right. So you have to chew it to some extent before you gulp it. You see, in this prayer, they say, Vadani Kaval Gheta Nama Ghya Srihariche. So Srihari has 1000 names. So who will take 1000 names? But let's say they say that we should chew our food at least as many times as we have teeth in our mouth. So we are supposed to have 32 teeth in our mouth as an adult. We will pull some out. About that, there is no doubt. I have fewer than that. But how do you count 32? I'll give you an easy trick. Okay. What I have learned from my friends in ISKCON. They say, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 8 हो गया. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. 16 हो गया. You repeat it. So do this twice. So if you say this mantra twice, you will have chewed 32 times.
For one bite twice, this mantra.
For every morsel.
It's a nice trick. Yeah.
Okay. Then what happens? The second line. Sahaja havana hote nama gheta phukache means it did not cost you anything to utter this name in your mind. And digestion became easier. That is what it means. So all of these prayers have very scientific meaning behind them. But how to explain this entire science to a layman? See, this is my question with our friend, good friend, Dr. Jagannath Dikshit. I
Mhm.
understand his science, but I tell him, who is going to understand blood sugar, blood glucose, HbA1c, and all kinds of technical jargon? I understand I'm hungry and I understand I'm full. Those two things I understand. So if we stick to these two basics, I shall eat only when I'm hungry and I shall stop when I'm full. What is the indication that I'm full? I get a small burp. So when I burp once, stop. That is the red signal. Don't go beyond that. I
Yeah.
hope this answers your question.
Yes. Yes. So
Great.
let's move on to the second one. Then plant-based diet and gut microbes. So this is something I think so. We would like to hear about this and
Okay, so that is wonderful. I wanted to talk about gut microbes. I
gut
think
microbes.
a lot of
Very
people have these
interesting.
questions. That is my favorite topic because I studied microbiology for my PhD. I use microbes for waste management all the time. And I have tried to contemplate on that, how microbes interact with us. See, first of all, we should know that microbes are our friends. They are not our enemies. Microbes have been here on this planet way before we came on this planet. Microbes were the first life forms that appeared on this planet.
True.
In our body, you will be surprised, there are more microbes than our own cells. So, if we understand this, then we learn how to live with them. You see, in our country, we have learned how to run a coalition government. So, we have to basically run a coalition government, right? If the microbes happen to be outnumbering our cells, but if our cells outnumber microbial cells, then we will have a majority government and we will
Majority.
run it the way we are supposed to run it. Then we don't have to run a Milijuli Sarkar, right?
True.
So, how do we do this? See, the microbes require food to eat. Every organism requires food to eat. What we need to do is to make sure that the food we eat is consumed by us and we don't unnecessarily leave extra stuff for the microbes to grow. So, the number one principle about controlling microbes in our system is we should eat only as much as necessary for our body. How much is necessary for my body? How do I know? I know this because I get two signals. One is a green signal called hunger. The second is the red signal called burp. First burp, the first signal. Don't jump that first signal. So, if I stick to these two rules, these two signals, I shall not eat until I'm hungry and I shall stop eating when I burp once.
Yeah.
Then the microbial population in my gut will remain lower than the number of cells I have in my body. Then I will be in charge of my government of this body. Otherwise, I will have to run a Milijuli Sarkar and I shall fall. Whenever the microbes get upset with me, then I fall. That's what happens to the government, isn't it?
Yeah. So one more query, what I always get from patient, that I don't get burp. So those who don't get burp, they have to watch themselves when they feel full.
All
So
right. So I shall answer that question. You
yeah,
see, our stomach is like a rubber sack. Okay. So the rubber sack will expand when you put something in it. It's like a balloon, you say. Okay? And then once it is empty, it will shrink. Right? That is the quality of the rubber sack. What happens in most people's case? We fill this rubber sack and we keep it filled all the time. What we do is we keep filling food into the stomach all the time. Then what happens over time, the stomach or the rubber sac is incapable of shrinking because it remains expanded all the time. To make sure that the stomach will remain elastic is to give it some rest, which means upavas. if you are not able to do upavas every day, then you should do upavas at least once in a week or once in 2 weeks. A lot of people in our culture will do an upavas during Ekadashi.
Yeah.
But we recommend that we should do upavas every day. What is this upavas? Upavas does not mean that you eat less than necessary. Upavas means you eat as much as necessary, but only when you are hungry, because your body is now requiring food. So therefore you give the body the food it requires. Then you should wait until you digest it fully and let the stomach come back to its original shape, the empty shape. When the stomach comes back to its original shape, then you will experience a dry burp. Once you experience that dry burp, after that, maybe after an hour or so, then you should eat your meal. You should not require to eat more than 2 meals a day if you have a very typical sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah. So dry burp is a signal that yes, I'm empty now. You can fill something in me.
But wait for another half an hour to 1 hour after that. Let the stomach rest for some time.
Yeah. So for all this process, for all our participants, they must know that self-monitoring is very important. So we'll have to talk a little bit about self-monitoring, and we have to go with the biological clock, not with the yes, it's 1 o'clock. Let's have a food. We can't go like that.
Correct. Exactly. That's a good question. So self-monitoring is essentially listening to these two signals. Number one, I'm hungry. And number two, I'm full. Means I burp once. So these are the two monitoring devices each person has. We don't need to have a blood glucose monitor. We don't have to have a HbA1c monitor, nothing. So listen to your body. You see, if you want to eat at certain times. So during the family meals, everybody's together, everybody enjoys together. And yes, it is important for us to eat with the family. So what we should do is whenever we are going to have a family meal, we should eat the previous meal only to the extent which will be completely digested by the family meal time. And then we will be very hungry during the family meal time. I cannot give you that equation. You will have to figure that out on your own, because I don't know what time you eat. I don't know what your appetite is. I don't know what your digestive capacity is. So this is something we have to learn. See, in this program, we are going to talk only about general principles.
Yeah.
Specific questions for specific people we cannot answer on this forum. For that, we will have to have a one-on-one session separately.
Yeah.
But general principles we will discuss, and happy to take questions from anybody who would like to understand these general principles and then how they can be applied in their life.
Right. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Saili. Thanks, Dr. Vikram, for those insights. So I think we can start taking questions now. There's one that we already received through email, which says, I have found 3 prominent food systems: Dr. Khadar's Sridhanya millet-based food, Dr. Biswarup Roy's DIP diet system, and which food system is better? Some people recommend to take small meals, which is correct, intermittent fasting or small meals. Generally, everybody loves the taste of different food. So is there a way to balance health and taste? So what is your take on that?
Okay, so why don't we ask Saili to comment on it from the nutritionist's point of view? Maybe you can say something for about a minute or two, and then I can also talk about this later.
Yes, as we mentioned, and as this program goes, we have to understand, and we want our patient, our participant to understand that yes, self-monitoring is important. So you have to go with your body clock. You have to understand when you feel hungry. You may not get hungry after 12, maybe not in the morning, 9 o'clock, maybe not even at 10 o'clock. You may eat directly at 12 o'clock. So, as we mentioned, that we have to follow our body clock, and eating every 4 hours that we are forced to eat, or diet chart given that yes, we have to eat in 4 hours. So I'm having fruit, I'm having some nuts. So, but is it really required? Do we need that energy that at that moment? That you have to ask yourself. So yes. You're saying something.
Right. No, I was just listening to you. So once you are done, then I will talk.
Yeah. So that's what the every 4 hours eating is not mandatory and not for everyone. Everyone is different. Everyone body works differently. Everybody's lifestyle is different. So you have to look after your lifestyle, the activities what you do, and accordingly the food what you are going to eat, that has been decided, and even the time. So some person who is very much sedentary and may not get hungry maybe for 12 hours in a day. So it's fine. Hunger and thirst, what you are supposed to watch yourself. So, and
Great.
many times it happens that people who are boredom or just sitting in front of screen and just food is provided on table or it is just available and they keep on eating, where they are not at all focused on food. So we need proper focus on yourself and on the food what you're going to eat. So
Correct.
3 hours, 4 hours calendar or that timetable, it is very difficult to maintain, and we don't have to go with the 24-hour clock. We have to see our body clock.
Great. Thank you, Saili, for your comments. I agree with everything you have said. You see, there are different types of diets people will recommend. All right. The best in the last, I would say, 150 years or so, we've had the luxury of choosing all of these diets. In the past, what used to happen, we would be compelled to eat what is grown locally.
Yeah.
So human race, Homo sapiens, this animal has evolved eating food which grows locally wherever that particular specimen happens to be. So the best food for me is whatever grows locally within say 40-50 kilometers, whatever grows in season. And again, go back to that first rule. Even if it grows locally, even if it is in season, I should not eat more than my body's requirements. If I eat more than my body's requirements, then I'm putting more organic material in my system. On that organic material, I will grow a huge number of bacteria or microbes. If those microbes outnumber me, I will go into a minority government status. I should not do that. When we eat less food, then we have a much less microbial load within us. It is much easier to manage a bacterial or a microbial load that is smaller than our body cells. When that number increases, and the only way the number will increase is if I eat more food than necessary. So the number one rule of our life, again, eat only when hungry.
Hunger and thirst.
Even if you don't stop at the first signal, even if you break the first signal, then what will happen? So if I am used to eating 2 chapatis every day, but because my wife cooked the sabzi or the dal really tasty, so I eat 1 extra chapati, then what will happen? If that 2 chapati meal gets digested in say 6 hours, the 3 chapati meal will get digested in 9 hours. And then I will get hungry. So then I should wait until after 9 hours when I really get hungry, then I should eat the next meal. But then what happens after 6 hours, the next meal time has come. So I'm compelled to eat with the family. This is something we need to avoid. So if we know that the next meal is going to happen at a certain time, then this meal I should eat in that quantity. Okay. My wife requests me every morning, she says, are you going to eat lunch with us? So whenever I'm able to eat lunch, because I don't have any other meeting going on at that time, and I say, yes, of course we will eat together. So we try to eat our lunch together every day. And I eat my breakfast accordingly. I don't eat any dinner at all. So usually I eat only a breakfast around say between 8 and 9. And then I eat lunch around 1 o'clock. After that, I eat the next meal again at 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. That's how I run my diet these days. Okay, so whatever is suitable for you based on your family situation, your work situation, you should do. I cannot really specify for everybody what they should do. I'm giving you the general principles which I have followed and I have understood. Happy to share those with you. So, Saili, what were you saying?
Yeah, I just want to mention, based on this principle, what happens when we eat extra? What happens with the stomach when we eat extra? So, about the digestive juices, they come up, and how much we need to fill that digestive sac. That is also one important point, I think. So, people would like to know about it. I
Sure.
think, so, shall we go ahead with this small question, or do you
Yes,
have?
I will. I will explain that to you in simple language. You
Yeah.
see, all of us, especially our sisters on this group, they are used to doing chutney in a mixie in their kitchen. See, when you are wanting to do a chutney in the mixie, you do not fill up the entire pot with coriander and coconut and things like that. You will fill it up only about half, and then you add a little bit of water, and then you mix it. Then the chutney becomes really super smooth because the mixer will work nicely when the pot is not completely full. Our stomach works in exactly the same manner. If we fill up our stomach more than half full, then the mixing and the churning does not happen as well as it can and it should. Then what happens on top of this, before that first batch is completely processed, we put more food into the stomach. Then our stomach is compelled to push that material, half digested material, down. On that half digested material, the microbes that grow will be seen by our body as our competitors because
Yeah.
they are competing for the same food we are supposed to be eating, but we did not eat, right? Now, plan A should always be like this. Whenever I eat whatever food I eat, I let it digest completely. Even if I have overeaten, that's okay. Let that digestion process be complete. Even if I eat very late in the evening, the digestion process will not be complete at night. So that's fine. In the morning, it will be completed. So wait until that process is completed. So normally, what people do in intermittent fasting is they eat during an 8-hour period and they fast for 16 hours every day. In a 24-hour period, that should be the cycle. So if that 8-hour period happens to be between 12 noon and 8 p.m., that's okay. For somebody who does a night shift, maybe they want to eat a big meal around say 5-6 o'clock in the evening and then one other meal at say 1 o'clock at night. But then what will happen? They will not eat another meal until the following evening 5 o'clock. They have to have that kind of discipline. So doing the fast every day is extremely crucial. If we do that every day, then we don't have to undertake the weekly fast or the fortnightly fast. That's how I have experienced it. I have experimented with it. I have also experimented with one meal a day for several months just to see what the effect was. And then at that time, what started happening was I was eating a big meal only once a day. I was eating more than my stomach could handle. Of course, I was able to digest it in the 23-hour fasting period. About that, there was no doubt. But then there was a subtle sense of ego developing within me saying that, I can live on only one meal a day. I have become a yogi. I said, this is counterproductive. I should simply listen to my body, be humble. If nature wants me to eat twice a day, I should eat twice a day. I should respect nature. I should not unnecessarily do duragraha. It is called insistence. There is no need for us to do that. We should respect nature. We should respect nature's laws. When nature wants me to eat, I eat. When nature wants me to stop, I stop. When nature wants me to go to sleep, I go to sleep. When nature wants to wake up, I wake up. That is how nature works. So we should live at ease with nature. And
Yes.
then our experience of life changes completely.
True.
Okay, let's take the next question. I think we have now a couple of questions coming up. So there's one that says, I'm suffering from neuropathic pain, numbness, toggling, inflammation in both feet since 4 years. I've taken allopathic, homeopathic treatment, but there is no improvement. My both hand fingers are also feeling numb. My HB1AC is 6.2. Kindly suggest remedy.
So
All right,
actually,
Saili, you want to go first
yeah,
and then tackle this for a minute and then I'll talk about it.
For this, we need to know his all medical reports, all medical conditions. If he has some doctor's prescription and all, then we can go ahead, in detail with his diet, because this is not something will go with the basic principles.
All right, great. So for the specific remedy, we will have to talk to this person separately. But
Yeah.
in general, what happens is any imbalance in the body has deep roots. And if you talk to any Ayurvedic Vaidya, he will tell you or she will tell you that the root cause of 95% diseases is Agni Mandya. Agni Mandya means lowering of the digestive fire. Why does the digestive fire get lowered? Because we put too much fuel into that furnace. That is what happens. So if there is too much fuel and not enough time to burn and not enough oxygen, then the fuel does not get burned properly. The fuel is our food. The fire is the digestive fire. And the time is intermittent fasting. So this entire equation of how much food, how much digestive fire, and how much intermittent fasting is very individual specific. So these things cannot be really taught. These things have to be learned. So here we are only discussing the general principles, and specific answers for specific ailments or an individual, I think we should take them up separately, and they can set up a one-on-one session with us and we will be happy to help.
So there are some neurotransmitters, food neurotransmitters, what we'll have to introduce. So for that, we need to know complete history of that particular person. So we'll have to deal with this case on one-on-one.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yep. There's another interesting one which says, does having rock salt instead of common salt lead to iodine deficiency? What is your opinion on supplements? They say we don't get enough proteins as much as our body needs through a vegetarian diet. So please advise diet for high BP patients.
Okay. Not with the last statement, high BP patient, will go with there are question in each statement, I can say. Yeah. So very first about iodine deficiency and rock salt. Yes, rock salt definitely has a number of minerals which are required to our body, and they are requiring very less amount. And the amount of salt required to our body is between 4 to 5 grams a day. So actually, if we go with the same principle, if we avoid packet food eating, if we avoid canned food, then we go to the amount what is required. So this is one answer to your blood pressure issue. And what was second, Pooja?
I'm checking. So opinion on supplements and also enough proteins on a vegetarian diet. Yeah.
Yes. So in vegetarian diet, if you see the kind of thali what we have and the way we eat, there should be dal, rice, chapati, and left hand side is your chutney and your koshimbir or raita, what we call. So if we go with that pattern, we usually tend to complete the amount of protein what is required to our body. Okay, and our Indian meal is more of a carbohydrate based meal, but there are a number of things, there are a number of food groups I can mention here which we forget to eat, and then we directly jump on the supplements. Do we eat nuts every day? Do we eat enough dal every day? So nuts is not festive food, it should be eaten every day. Yeah. So do we eat curd every day? Is there milk? Milk is not just for kids. So here we are talking about plant-based diet, of course. Then if we talk about almond milk or soy milk, that they also give enough amount of protein. And not to forget our dal rice. If you combine that dal and rice, you get all amino acids. Do we get, that's what I mentioned, do we eat that amount of dal what we have? We just eat dal, hardly a katori. Sprouts, again, happens once or fortnightly in our houses. So this, your meal need to be planned. Your cooking need to be planned in your kitchen, and the way you should eat it. You know.
Great.
Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, so this is all wonderful. You see, those who are used to eating a cooked meal all the time will cook it in a traditional manner and eat in a traditional manner, and this is great. If we continue to do that, we will get all the necessary nutrients without any problem. You see, in my specific case, dairy does not really suit me. So I try not to consume milk, curds, buttermilk, things like that. I do eat ghee as a medicine because ghee is the refined product of milk. That's the essence in the milk, they say. You know, when you take the cream out of it, make butter, and then make ghee, that kind of processing of milk will result in a product that has medicinal properties. And if you eat it as a medicine in the necessary dose, like we eat any other medicine, then it works as a medicine. But if you overdo it, then it will not work like a medicine, it will work like a poison. So we talk about good food, we talk about sattvic food, we talk about plant-based food. Even plant-based food, even raw food, even natural food can be overeaten. And overeaten sattvic food, overeaten natural food, overeaten fruits are also bad for us. So I remember one line in my most favorite book. It's in Marathi called Gita Pravachane by Vinoba Bhave. In that he says, Phalahar satvik khara, parantu to dekhil yathechha nako. So phalahar means eating fruits is sattvic. It's a good thing. But even that should not be eaten to your heart's content. Because you can overeat. You can overdo good things also. Overdoing of good thing is also bad. The fundamental shlok in Gita about this entire food business is Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Which means everybody should be, and the one who is regulated in Yuktahara viharasya means regulated in eating, regulated in living. Yukta swapnava bodhasya means regulated in dreaming and during waking experience. You see, I jokingly say, or our Swamiji says, if you are used to all kinds of indulgences during the waking experience, so if you see a horror movie at night and then go to bed, in your dream, Bhagwan Krishna will not come playing the flute. He will come with a Sudarshan Chakra. So we need to be regulated in whatever we do. Now let me go back to the question. It is important what we should consume, but what is more important than what we consume is how much of it we actually absorb. So eating X grams of protein every day, the book will tell you that you should eat 65 grams of protein because you are 65 kilograms heavy. So my body weight happens to be 65 kilograms. So I should eat 65 grams of protein every day. That is what the book tells me. That is an average number. Okay. That 65 grams, if I eat, but I'm not able to absorb the 65 grams, or if I'm not able to absorb any of it, then what is the use? The same thing happens with every other material, nutrient, or element. So if you eat a mineral supplement or a vitamin supplement, say everybody who is eating a plant-based diet is scared that they will not get enough B12. So they eat a B12 supplement. The requirement for B12 in the body is maybe 5 or 6 or 2 micrograms, I think. But we end up eating 1000 micrograms every day. What will the body do? The body will be forced to throw away 998 micrograms of B12 every day. Then what will happen? The body is experiencing a flood of B12, and the ability of the body to absorb B12 will go down. So if there is an excess of something, we don't really value it as much, and we don't see. I'll give you a practical example. When I was growing up as a child, there used to be a water scarcity. Water will appear in the tap only 1 hour or 2 hours in a day. So what would we do? We would fill up several buckets of water or a big container of water and use water from those containers all day long because it is in short supply. Nowadays, the water is flowing 24 hours a day and I'm overusing it. And all of that water is basically draining down the drain and it is going into the treatment plant. That is what happens. So when we provide excess material to our body, then our body simply wastes it and it forgets the ability to conserve it and utilize it judiciously. That is what happens when you provide anything in excess to the body. So the body should get whatever the body. See, imagine some plant or a tree up on the cliff on the mountain. Where is it getting all the nutrients? Who is giving the fertilizer to that plant or tree? That tree or the plant has enhanced its capability to absorb the nutrition it requires from the rocks and from whatever amount of soil it encounters. So our ability to absorb the nutrients we eat is much more important or just as important as how much we feed into the body. So we should keep that intelligence and keep that ability to absorb sharp. That sharpness can be maintained, can be developed through intermittent fasting.
Yes.
I hope,
All right.
I hope this is clear.
Yeah. So there's another one which says I have water retention problem. Few people ask me to drink a lot of water and few say drink less so that body can use that water. So please clarify, how do I go about it?
Yes.
Go ahead, Saili, you go first, then I'll go next.
Yeah. So water retention, again, yes, your body will ask you when you're thirsty. You have to focus that when you're thirsty. Everyone for all nutrient, I can say there is no calculation. Again, what your body is asking, there you have to focus. Right. So when you are thirsty, you will drink water. You may end up in drinking 6 glasses of water, and it is again seasonal as well. We drink more water in summer season. We drink less water in winters and in rainy season. So if you keep the same calculation all 12 months, then your body is going to react accordingly. Your cells are going to react accordingly. They don't want that much of water.
Correct.
And again, this is a condition which we have to again see individually as well, because if he has that problem, it is just not related to water. We'll have to see if you have some other deficiency as well. If there are some nutrient deficiency, then the retention may happen. There is some imbalance between your sodium potassium. There is some imbalance between your cells inlet and outlet. So that we'll have to see. There are some blood work what we require to see, some history as well. So we'll deal with this personally again. And over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you. So again, what Saili said was correct. We have to respect our body's signals. Our body will demand water. We should drink water. If our body does not demand water, just because I have seen an advertisement or somebody tells me that I must drink 8 glasses of water every day, we should not drink water in that manner. If we pour more water in our body will become like slush, like mud. Our body doesn't require as much water. See, in my experience, what I have realized, when I eat natural food, when I do not eat excess salt, then my body's water requirement goes down considerably. I don't get thirsty as often. Even when we eat something salty, a lot of people might have experienced a lot of thirst after eating a very salty food, such as pizza or even some Indian snacks that have a large amount of salt. When we eat excessive salt, then we feel thirsty because salt wants to extract water out of the cells. Okay, so if we eat very little salt, only as much as required, then we don't get very thirsty. And as Saili said, during the summer season in India, we will get quite thirsty. In the rainy season, we will not. In my case, in the winter, it is very cold here in America. So I don't need to drink much water during that time at all. During the summer, I may need to drink a bit more, but usually I have observed that I can remain without water whenever I'm not eating any food. So when I'm eating food, most of my food itself is water. So the natural food we eat is almost 70-80% water.
Yeah. I was
That
about to
water,
mention, yes.
that water, I will tell you, Saili, that water has the capability to hydrate our body much better than the water we drink from a glass. If we eat our food properly, if we digest it properly, then the water requirement of the body goes down considerably.
True.
So we should drink only when thirsty. That's the bottom line. So Pooja, I hope this answers the question we had. What's the next question, please?
Yep. So it is during lockdown, my family ended up eating more rice and potato. Reasons we don't know, but we gained weight. We believe in Dikshit diet. Can you suggest a suitable diet to lose weight?
Okay, Saili, you want to go?
So, lot of voice coming from somewhere.
Yeah, somebody was unmuted by mistake.
Yeah.
I think if we can mute everybody other than
Yeah.
Saili and myself, I think that will be great.
We've done that, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Saili.
Yeah. So yes, in lockdown, many of them gained weight. Maybe because of lack of activity, I can say, and food is just an entertainment people have deal with, or they have tried their hands on different kind of cuisines. So that's what I mentioned earlier. Also, we don't want to eat food, or we should not eat food just because we are getting bored. Just because, yes, what to do? Let's try this. Again, you have to see what your body is asking for. Yes, you can try different cuisines, but you have to see when you're hungry and when to eat. And there is no rule that while watching movie or while watching some series, you should have popcorns or you should eat something, or there is no rule to eat desserts as well. If you are full, you have to stop there. And you,
Correct.
you end up in eating a lot of carbohydrate, I can say. Again, in terms of food group, potato and rice. So moving on to plant-based diet will be helpful for you to get down your weight. And
Correct.
actually fats. Whatever extra you eat, it happens to store in fats, your fat cells, and they have extension capacity. They are like balloons. So you have to remember that.
Correct. This is a great answer. And yes, we have observed that once we switch from a mostly processed or a mostly cooked diet to a mostly natural, mostly raw diet, then these hunger pangs or hunger cravings, they go down. So this will help you. If you switch, of course, you should switch gradually. You should not switch suddenly. Otherwise, your stomach will get upset. So there are rules of how we switch to a mostly natural diet, and we will go over these. If you have any specific questions, we can talk to you separately about it. So any other question,
Yeah.
Pooja?
Yeah. So is this kind of diet healthy for bone health? What do you recommend for people with lack of vitamin D?
Oh, vitamin D, there's only one answer to vitamin D, sunlight. No nutrient will provide vitamin D. Either it is fortified in some of the food groups, packet food I can say, but no plant-based food will be helpful to rectify your vitamin D.
Correct. So vitamin D, take a lot of sunlight, go out in the sunlight. That is great. Unfortunately, it is not possible for somebody like me in the US. In the winter, it is very difficult to go out in the sun. So in our home, luckily, we have plenty of sunshine because we have plenty of windows. And we have almost, I don't know, 20 windows on the east side of the house. So it doesn't matter where you stand in the morning, you are bathed in sunshine. So I love that. I try to do my exercise during sunshine. These days I've been doing my exercise before sunrise. So I don't get sunshine during the exercise, but then during the day, we get plenty of sunshine in the house and it feels very good. So yes, we should try to get as much sunshine on our body as possible. That will provide the vitamin D. And again, as I said in response to the previous question, the ability of the body to absorb is much more important than how much we consume. So we should always keep the ability to absorb whatever we consume sharp. And that ability remains sharp when we don't flood our system with food. You should give only as much as required. See, even if you are planting a garden, for example, in the garden, you give the water to the plant, but after that you wait. If you keep the soil wet all the time, then the plant will die. You have to give water and then you have to give it sunshine and air. So all these elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky or space, all of these have to remain in balance. You cannot overdo one or the other.
Yes,
I hope
and
this was good. Pooja, what is the next? I'm sorry, Sally, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
yes, and I would like to add on to this that our fat cells play important role in absorption of your vitamin D as well, because they are underneath your skin. So reducing your fat cells, body fat percentage helps in more absorption of vitamin D.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
Next
Pooja.
question is, the food that we eat daily will it have any effects on our genetics?
Yes.
That's a good question. Go ahead,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes. So, what food you are having daily, that is very important for me to know about the genetics, and what you have been eating in your childhood and what your family was eating in your childhood. That is again, it's a kind of, you'll have to find out the history, that whether you or your family used to eat bhakri or some your jawar roti or something earlier, and now you have moved to chapati. So yes, genetic plays a major role, and what you're eating now also plays a major role. So you have to this is a very I need a lot of time to answer this question. I kind of,
No, that's fine. Let me give my take on this.
yeah.
You see, the kind of food we eat will lead to the kind of mindset we develop. Okay. And the kind of mindset we develop will give us the urges to eat the kind of food our mindset is. So mind and food, they go hand in hand. So if I am used to eating junk food, then my mind craves for junk food. And then I eat more junk food. And the mind craves more junk food. So this is a downward spiral. I will tell you from the microbiology point of view how that happens. So when I eat junk food, then the microbial population in my stomach is also used to eating junk food or seeing the leftovers of the junk food. Whatever I don't digest, the remaining material the microbes are eating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I keep feeding the body junk food all the time, then the microbes in my gut keep craving for the junk food all the time. And they influence my mind to eat more junk food. So we should not see that first break in the cycle we have to do consciously. So if we break that cycle, if we eat healthy food, if we keep eating healthy food consistently for 3 or 4 weeks, then the microbial population in our gut actually changes. There is a shift in the microbiota. That's what happens. Then the cravings go down. See, that is why we are actually going to do, Saili and I are going to do a 30-day detox program. And some people have signed up for it, and we'll be happy to do that for them. If anybody else wants to join, you can learn more about it from our website and so on. But we will walk you through this entire 30-day program. After that, your hunger pangs and your cravings for eating undesirable food will go down. That will happen. And then you will feel much better. See, once you are used to feeling much better on healthy food, then you don't go back on junk food. That happens naturally. Then nobody has to force you. Then you will yourself control yourself. I often say, when we do things understanding from within, then that whole discipline is called Anushasan or self-discipline. Whereas if I tell you, Saili tells you, or your mother tells you, or your teacher tells you, or the policeman tells you, then it is discipline. You don't like discipline, you like self-discipline. When you are self-disciplined, then nobody has to discipline you.
Yeah.
Yes, Pooja.
Okay, so we have Mr. Santosh who has raised his hand. So let's have him ask his question. So Santosh, you can now go ahead and ask your question. Unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Santosh.
Santosh, are you able to unmute yourself?
He's already unmuted. Oh, okay.
Okay. Looks like he has some difficulty. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead with the next question. So how much curd and milk we should consume and what time?
Again, time is, as we mentioned, that time is as per your body clock when your body is asking for it. Okay, and how much to consume, and that calculation is also what you have to do. How much to consume.
Actually, we
Milk-
can answer these questions specifically for specific individuals by learning about their background. Otherwise, it is difficult to.
Because each individual is different. I can't say, okay, have 5 grams of 50 grams of curd and you will get 5 grams of protein. It is very difficult, and this is not generic as well. We can't tell everyone to have that much amount of curd, or 1 glass of milk will give you 8 grams of protein. It is very difficult for each person to follow, and it is not even for everyone. So nutrition and diet works individually. Same rule won't be there for for all people. So again, when and how much to have, that we need to know your history. We need to assess you for that.
Right.
And also, what effect does it have on you? So, for example, in my case, when I eat a dairy product, either milk or curds or cheese or anything made out of milk, other than ghee, then it will increase the amount of mucus in my body. I feel that the next morning. I've tried this experiment. I'm not saying that I don't consume dairy at all. I will consume dairy every once in a while. So sometimes there is a kheer for prasad in our house. So I will eat maybe half a bowl of it, or maybe 2 or 3 spoons of it. But even that much will result in a larger quantity of mucus in my body than otherwise. And I feel it the following morning because I have to blow my nose. If I don't eat that dairy product, then I don't have to blow my nose. So it's as clear as that. So I have to understand the signals of the body, like the very first item we had discussed, how to self-monitor.
Yeah.
That is what we need to.
Right. Yeah. So my observation too, sir, after I quit having any dairy products, it worked really good for me. So yeah, it surely depends on everybody's need. So the next question is, nowadays everybody is suggesting to take vitamin C tablets. So please guide.
So
Go ahead, Saili.
So, vitamin C tablets. Nowadays, people are giving all kind of vitamin supplements to individual. So again, what are the sources of vitamin C? So vitamin C sources, if you understand, and as I mentioned, the thali, the Indian thali, what we are used to eating, left hand side which starts with lemon. Are we still putting that lemon in the thali? Are we consuming that lemon? Amla is Indian gooseberry, and it is available in different kind of forms. And that vitamin C, if you even eat our supari, I mean what you get, hardly it used to get for 1 rupee earlier. Now I don't know the price, but that amla will give the same amount of vitamin C what the fresh amla will give. So amla ka vitamin C will never get reduced in any of the form. So there are amla supari, achar, and different kind of we get nowadays in market. And our mothers, our grandmothers are used to prepare all those things when you get fresh amlas. So you should understand what are the sources, and that amount need to, there should be that amount you should include in your diet. So either lemon is the basic fruit, I can say, you should add in your diet, if not, then seasonally you get oranges, your sweet lime, whatever. So all sources, they are available. So are you eating them every day? So instead of getting into supplements, what are the natural sources and how that can be incorporated in your daily diet, that you have to see first. And India, we have amla. We are blessed with amla. You can have amla in any form. We are blessed with lemons.
Right. Sure. Thanks, Sally. So, an extension to that, there's a question. Please explain a perfect Indian thali.
Yes, extension. Yeah. So perfect Indian thali. Yeah, Indian thali. I will brief you about the Maharashtrian thali. What we were used to eating. Nowadays, I don't eat that much. But yes, from left hand side, it starts with lime. Then it starts with any of the herb, as I mentioned, either pudina or coriander chutney, or any of the dry chutney, that is coconut or peanut chutney. Okay, and koshimir or raita. So this is what happens, which is available at left. Okay, so there's a type of arrangement what we have in Indian thali as well. So why it is on left? We are used to using our right hand, and right hand, what we eat is sabzi, and your different kind of normal dry sabzi and your wet sabzi. I mean curries, gravies. So they are at your right hand, and your dal or usul or any kind of dry or normal sprout is at the top of it. It's not on the left and not even on the right. So the way we eat, our hand will go very first to right. The quantity of your right hand should be more. Your left hand, why chutney, koshimir or raita is in less quantity? Because that is the amount required. Center you have rice, and at the bottom you have little your chapati, that too in triangular form. So why it is served in triangular form, not in circle? Again, it has science. You have to control that thali. If you eat properly in that quantity, then you're eating all the nutrients required to your body.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much for describing it in such detail and so well.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. So it has been my experience that I have eaten food in at least, more than 25 countries. Okay.
Yeah.
But my experience has been the way we eat food in our home. The Maharashtrian food, of course, I grew up in Maharashtra. I'm Marathi speaking. So that is culturally and traditionally familiar to me. So I have found that food is really a complete meal. Over time, through experimentation, I have discovered that if you go from mostly cooked to mostly natural, then that food integrates in my body much better than cooked food used to. Okay. So that's why I have moved from mostly cooked to mostly natural food. So these days, because I want to go in a certain direction and I have tried to observe how food affects me, I have gone towards intermittent fasting and mostly natural diet. In my experience, this has been a phenomenal journey. What I have understood is the first rule we must all follow: don't change the diet drastically. Whatever you are used to eating, eat that. But try to control the portion in such a way that every time you sit down to eat, you are really hungry. Even if you are eating 4 times a day right now, ask yourself the question, am I really hungry before I eat? So there was one question earlier, there are some plans which say you should eat several small meals a day. If you are disciplined enough to eat only those small meals in a day, which one of the very famous dietitians in Maharashtra says, you can reduce your weight. Okay. But the other famous Maharashtrian dietitian says that if you eat too many times a day, then you will force your body to secrete insulin in the blood so many times a day, which is not good for you. You should make your body secrete insulin only twice a day, which makes sense. Okay. So even when you don't have any diabetes, or even if you don't have any other disease, it is a good idea not to make the body secrete insulin more than twice a day. So we recommend that yes, we should eat fewer meals a day. So if you are eating 6 times a day, try to go to 5, try to go to 4, try to go to 3. And then out of those 3 meals, or even out of those 2 meals, try to make one meal completely raw, completely fruits. So if you are eating thrice a day, if you must eat thrice a day, if you feel like eating thrice a day, eat the cooked meal during the day, and then eat breakfast completely raw or natural, and eat dinner completely raw or natural, like only fruits. You can try to experiment with this and see how it feels for you from within. That's what we should do. Thank you.
Right, sure. So other one is, what is the perfect diet for high cholesterol person? Doctors say do not eat ghee, yolk of the egg. So exactly what should be eaten so that cholesterol levels will maintain?
So I would
Kylie, you want to go for it?
yes, for cholesterol levels, again, lifestyle, we need to know your lifestyle. Okay, so what kind of lifestyle you are living now, and food perspective, no ghee, that is not recommended actually. There is some amount of ghee what we can recommend. Again, it all depends on what kind of history you have. Okay, so it will depend on your history and your family history too. And moving on to plant-based diet, or moving on to natural food, will help you to reduce cholesterol level, because we are adding lot many of fiber to it, so they will work as a brush. When we clean some pipe, so we use a brush. In the similar manner, natural diet or plant-based diet will work with your body. And ultimately, cholesterol and triglyceride, they are saturated in your arteries. We have to remove them. For all those reasons, moving on to this diet will be helpful. And this discussion can get into detail. We'll go again as per case. But yes, moving on to this kind of diet will be helpful for you.
Great. So for cholesterol, I will give you my example. I used to have high cholesterol. High cholesterol will happen in our body because of many reasons. Cholesterol is actually a necessary ingredient of our body. If our body does not get enough cholesterol from outside, then it will create its own cholesterol. Cholesterol is necessary, but excessive cholesterol and its clotting is not desirable. So doctors will tell you this food will cause cholesterol, that food will cause cholesterol. That research keeps on fluctuating. So about 20, 30, 40 years ago, they told us that coconut oil is very bad, ghee is very bad. But here in America, now everybody eats coconut oil. And to pregnant mothers or to lactating mothers, doctors themselves will say, you happen to be from India, why don't you eat this GHEE? This is, we've been eating this since our childhood. So as a medicine, we have to eat fat. The nuts we eat in our natural diet are full of fat. Fat gets burned just like carbohydrate. It gets oxidized into carbon dioxide in our body. Okay. So if we eat more carbohydrates, see, when we consume any food, the food gets broken down only in 3 different ingredients. And those 3 ingredients go through the blood to every cell, and the cell will absorb them or metabolize them. Those 3 ingredients are: number 1 is glucose, number 2 is fatty acid, and number 3 is amino acid. So proteins will break down into amino acids, fats will break down into fatty acids, and carbohydrates will break down into glucose. Once these 3 ingredients go into individual cells, then the individual cell will utilize them to the extent the individual cell needs. Now, if we have more of that than the individual cell requires, then everything will be stored as fat. So glucose will also be converted into fat, and it will get deposited everywhere. If we require some fat. Fat is required even for good movement of our joints. If we don't have enough fat, then the joints will become creaky, cranky, they will become very dry. That is not good. See, we have to have a balance. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu. So all of those things are important. Cholesterol is not bad. Cholesterol is necessary only in a certain quantity, not in excess, not too little of it. So if you eat too little cholesterol, then your body will make it. Shall I continue for just another half a minute, Pooja?
Sure.
The eggs will contain cholesterol. That cholesterol is necessary for the chick, not for us. Whatever ingredients there are in an egg, those are necessary for the chick, not for us. Okay, we should eat only plant-based diet, which is the best diet for human beings. For our species, the best diet is what grows on the planet through the process of photosynthesis. That has been proven through research all over the place and proven in my own experience. So I'm completely convinced that as a rule, we should eat mostly plant-based diet. If as an exception, we have to eat some animal product, we should eat that as a medicine, but not as a rule. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, sir. So next one is, what should be had in the 16 hours till the next meal? Only water, green tea, herbal tea, or nothing?
If we are thirsty, we should drink water. If we are not thirsty, we should not even drink water. If we are hungry, you see, over time, what will happen? Our duration of fast will increase. Our hunger pangs will go down. That's what I have experienced. Even when we are now used to eating many meals a day, what we should try to do when we are trying to switch is gradually increase the duration of fast between the meals. So if I'm used to eating every 4 hours, then I should try eating every 4.5 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, like that. Then if I eat once in 6 hours, then I will end up eating maybe thrice a day. Isn't it? Say 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. So 6 hour gap between meals. But then from 8 o'clock PM until 8 o'clock in the morning, there will be a 12-hour gap. Try to increase that gap. So at least once a week, what I should do, instead of eating 3 meals a day, I should eat one meal at say 10, 11 o'clock, another meal at 5, 6 o'clock, and then wait until 11 o'clock the next day. So that way I will increase the duration of my fasting. Once we get used to it, then we can fast longer, and that fast is helpful for us for detoxifying our body. So we will go through all of that for people who have signed up. That's great. We will help them, and then we will publish those results. We will tell people what they have observed. So then accordingly, everybody will learn.
This is again a gradual process. Nobody is going to ask you to fast immediately when you start the program. It's a gradual process.
Right. So there's Miss Neetu, I think, who has raised her hand. So Neetu, you want to unmute and ask your question?
हेलो
नमस्ते.
नमस्ते. सो समटाइम्स मतलब कहीं पढ़ा है, सुना है आयुर्वेदा में कि शाम के बाद हमें फ्रूट्स या रॉ वेजिटेबल्स या फूड नहीं खाना चाहिए. सो व्हाट यू से अबाउट दैट?
ग्रेट क्वेश्चन. शाम के बाद मतलब सूर्यास्त के बाद हमने कुछ भी नहीं खाना चाहिए. आफ्टर सनसेट वी शुड नॉट ईट एनीथिंग एट ऑल. यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. आयुर्वेद इज राइट. आई फॉलो आयुर्वेदिक प्रिंसिपल्स इन माय लाइफ. Ayurveda says that the digestive fire in our belly corresponds with the position of the sun in the sky wherever we are. So in the morning, between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, the digestive fire is the strongest, because that is when the sun in the sky is also the strongest. If we eat before that, so I end up eating a breakfast around 8, 8:30. I eat a relatively small breakfast. Then I eat a lunch around between 1 and 2, when the digestive fire and the sun in the sky both are at their peak. So that's when I eat my next meal. But after that, I completely fast until the next morning. That way, I digest my lunch completely. Even before going to bed, I have digested my meal completely. So I sleep very, very well. When our stomach is empty, then the quality of sleep improves. Then what happens? You don't have to sleep as much. So I end up going to bed around 10 o'clock. and I end up waking around 4:30 like that. So most of the people will require 8 hours of sleep, but I can do with 6, sometimes less than 6 hours of sleep, depending upon how light I am. So sometimes I sleep only 5 hours. Some people ask me, my colleagues, Saili and Pooja, sometimes wonder whether I ever sleep. Yes, I do sleep. But the quality of sleep is so good that the quantity, less quantity is also satisfying. So thank
Yes.
you, Neetuji, for asking this question. I hope
Yeah.
this answers it.
To add on to this, yes, it helps in improving your metabolism. It helps in improving your stress levels. Your stress level goes down. As sir mentioned about sleep, yes, you get quality sleep in less amount of time. Because your cells are utilizing that nutrients. Your and if you eat late, like 9-10 o'clock, and if you sleep within an hour or two, then that metabolism, the digestion is not happening. So for that, it is better to have when at between 6 to 7 o'clock at the time of sunset.
Right. Okay, so there's another question on specific diet for diabetic people.
Great.
Yes.
So it depends upon how much diabetes you have or how
Yeah.
long you have had it. So
Yes.
if it is an old diabetes, you've had it for a long time, then it is more difficult. But I'll tell you, type 2
It
diabetes
will
is
take time.
reversible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But type 2 diabetes is reversible.
Yes, it is completely reversible. Reversible, and it has been proven by many famous doctors, many different kind of plants. Yes, of course, Dr. Dixit also uh, uh, quoted that. And yes, it is reversible. But then for diabetes and for any of the condition, the discipline is very important. Self-discipline is very important. And for diabetes reversal, you need to give that much time to yourself. It is not something within a month or two it is going to happen, but that is very much possible.
Right. And then there's a question on thyroid as well, as to people who have thyroid, what is it in specific that they can do?
You
The
see, all imbalances, including the thyroid imbalance, is caused because we don't understand the cycles of nature. Okay. In my experience, thyroid problem, see, I did not have any thyroid problem by God's grace, but there are many cases by changing lifestyle, by regulating the diet, and by quietening the mind, thyroid problems have gone away. I have, there is a beautiful video by Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. He was interviewed by an American woman who was given a death sentence. Meaning you will have to eat these thyroid medicines all your life. You cannot be cured at all. This lady who had been given such a life, no, I should not say death sentence, but life sentence. So you will have to eat this medicine all your life. But within 6 months, this lady got over it completely. And what do? They do only 2 meals a day, focus on yoga, focus on meditation, focus on understanding who we are. See, our fundamental problem, I will tell you, most of us, we don't understand who we are. We think of ourselves as who we are not. And then there is a lot of confusion. That is the problem. So, this is a much longer and deeper topic. We should take another time.
But
But
I have again to add on to this. I have
go
thyroid.
ahead.
Yeah. So I have thyroid, and moving on to plant-based diet and fasting, my levels have gone down. At least I'm on less microgram medication right now. It will take time, of course, but again, you have to see that it all depends on your earth principles. This and your stress levels and the lifestyle what you are living right now. So again and again, we are coming to the same point that yes, self-monitoring is important. What you are eating, that focus is very important. And yes, and that is how you can get rid of your thyroid as well. It will take time. It is again not a immediate thing. And what kind of thyroid you have, that will have to see your reports and the kind of lifestyle you're living.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sir, so we have Kishan Vasekar ji with us in this meeting today, and he would like to share his observations. So, sir, do you want to briefly introduce him?
Yes, indeed. Kishanji is my close friend. I consider him my elder brother. I've known him for almost a decade. He is a very highly disciplined and realized man. He's had many mystical experiences. So I would love to hear from him. He is a chemical engineer like me, so he understands chemical engineering process principles just as I
Okay.
do. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Vikramji. You are able to hear and see me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just give some small brief because I have experienced, as you know, Dr. Ji knows, Vikramji knows that I had a heart attack also, and then 1 year back I had a stroke. I'm 66 now, but I have undergone all those pains, but I have improved a lot of late. Now the problem I think is I will talk about my 2-3 subjects just in brief. So that one is that cholesterol. Now the whole research has been going on, as the Dr. Ji said, off and on, and there is almost 50 or 49% divide between whether cholesterol is good or bad. But only thing I can say is that cholesterol is required by the body, and there is LDL and HDL, and then there are LDL, there are small particles, big particles. The theories go on. I myself, when I had a heart attack in 2011, but in 2012, I was in Mumbai. I stopped my statins and the cholesterol medicines with some experimentation because I thought chemical engineer, my chemical engineering within me did not allow me to take statins, which are given to the reduce cholesterol. And recent is one sentence I will tell you about cholesterol from my best book which I am following. There is one book by the POP diet by Dr. Asim Malhotra. It is my, at least for present, it is like Gita for me. And he has given one final sentence that saturated fat does not clog arteries, and cholesterol relation with heart attack is not is fully established. So reducing cholesterol, there is a double way. You go for plant-based diet, as Vikramji has said, and move in the sunlight. Sun produces vitamin D, sunlight, when on the body for a sufficient period of time, and converts cholesterol to vitamin D. So it is doubly powerful. And some research has been done by Pune doctor, which I talked to him and I got those papers. And I practice that. Only thing what all people should remember, I don't know how the ladies can manage. Your 40% body should be exposed. And what I do is very interesting. I'm just sitting here and sun comes in my house here. I'm in Aurangabad, and I dance in the sun and looking at the Vitthal. There is a Vitthal photo in front of me. I say chant Vitthal and Vitthal. In fact, my cholesterol was 90 or something, and it may be around the same thing. Though doctors say that I should be going to 70 LDL, I really don't feel it is going to work because it will cause a lot of weakness. That is about cholesterol. Second, coming to the neuropathic pain somebody had, it is very difficult to, I had a tremendous neuropathic pains because I had a heart attack, right leg was almost paralyzed, and then whole thing took almost 2-3 years or 4 years to get to the normalcy or not normalcy. I have followed basically detoxification, Ayurvedic detoxification, then some medicines for neuropathic pains which are being given, pregabalins and other medicines, and then I did a lot of exercises, physiotherapy. What has played a very important role in my life is physiotherapy and of course Ayurveda and meditation. As you know, I meditate almost 2-3 hours a day. I sleep less than 5 hours or 6 hours, and most of the time I'm meditating in the sleep also. But that is happening to me right from 1978. That is another story. But meditation for me is the cure for most of the things. So I call it as a 5MM formula. Meditation, medication, that is synergy between Ayurveda and allopathy, then music, massage and mudra. These are my 5 M's which I generally say that they will help. So neuropathic pain probably will come down by this detoxification. The second point was water retention. I am doing small experiment right now, last 5 days, because I am still getting up at almost 2:30 a.m. for urge for urination. So I read in Balaji Tambe's book, and then we are boiling the water and making it 1/4. And I'm taking that water, and believe me, my urination urge has come down. So, and he says you add small amount of gold, of course, and drink it that, don't take the gold, of course. And that Suvarna Jal is going to improve. That story that we are starting in between now. So take warm water. I had also water retention problems long back. They have vanished now with exercise and diet purification. What our Vikramji has said. I also follow some of the things there. Then, so water retention can be reduced only by detoxification and making your heart work better. Please check your heart parameters. It could be a sign of some sort of weakness in the heart. I have been studying about that. Now, the third part was somebody was asking about sunlight, that we already answered. Neuropathic pain, cholesterol, weight gain. Actually, I lost the weight for 5 kg. I had a weight loss, maybe by weakness or something. So, in case of such a thing, you can take some supplements for short periods of time. Whatever protein supplements are available in the market, and I have been taking for that 2 months. And I will suggest for, as Dr. Dikshit also, I attended his lectures. Don't take anything. Every time you take something sugar, added sugar is the ultimate enemy, not the cholesterol or the saturated fat. Added sugar, you stop it. Absolutely stop it. I have reduced it by 90%. And then I have stopped ice cream, Srikhand, everything 5-6 years back. So all the people request is that reduce the added sugar, and that what is happening is insulin resistance is the major contributor to the heart disease, even makes a cancer. So reducing your added sugar and stopping all these processed foods is a must. That is what Dr. Vikramji has also said. So in my opinion, if you follow this, I call it as a BMW and my speed formula: balance, moderate, and worry free. That is that shloka which he has told from the Bhagavad Gita, Yuktahare Viharasya and all that. And I said my speed formula is meditation, yoga, smile and sleep well, pranayam, exercise and entertainment, and diet purification. That's what Vikramji has been doing a great job. So if you follow this, difficult to follow, I know, but then I have been doing it, and you can also do it. At 66, I found that even I could get out of the problem of stroke, though I was treated very well. I have learned one thing from Vikramji: to eat slowly. And I started doing it in a very funny manner. Whenever I was eating fast and I was speaking, I started putting the songs like Dheere Dheere Chal or something. And I was biting my lip, Even the person who was treating me, he said, I bite my lip. I was in US at that time. So I started playing the song. I started eating slowly. And if I talk now while eating, my wife says, stop it. And if she talks, I say, stop it. It happened every day. So
Kishanji, I will tell you the Mula Mantra for happy married life, right?
Yeah.
Our Swamiji tells us.
Married man.
No, I'll tell you. So the Mula Mantra is like this: when your wife is talking, you should keep quiet. Okay. And when your wife is quiet, then you should not talk.
Correct. So that's so in short, what Vikramji and she has said, I think following it is more important. I believe the great end of the knowledge is action. There is one shloka in Bhagavad Gita which I love to tell at the end of any session. That is 2.37. Hatova prapsasi sarga jitva bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta komte yuddhaya kruta nishchaya. So if you have to fight this obesity, diabetes or anything, you have to act. Otherwise, everything is like, Titanic will happen. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Kishanji, for sharing your thoughts. This was all great. I'm amazed how attentive a student you were in this whole class, and you took really good notes and you summarized whatever we said in a very nice manner. So delighted to have you here, and thank you for such a wonderful, experience you shared with us. So
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yep. So there's one, sir, for a person who does regular running, is this diet useful, or should it be taken with care as runners need energy to run?
Great. So yeah, go ahead. Saili, why don't you answer this?
So in that case, yes, your requirement for protein and other nutrients will be more. So again, if you are a runner, then you have to listen to your body. Yes, you should not get cramps. You should run properly. So for that purpose, whatever nutrients are required, that you are supposed to have.
Great. See, as I said, as Saili also said, if we listen to the signals of our body, if I am doing physical exercise or if I have exerted in any manner during the day, then I feel the urge to eat third time in a day. And I do. It's not that I don't. But most of the days, my job is very sedentary. I'm sitting in the office. Sometimes I wear a coat. Most of the time I don't. But I'm sitting in front of the computer most of the time, not doing much physical movement or exercise or exertion, the only exercise I do regularly is about 40 to 50 Surya Namaskar every morning. That I try not to miss. So when I do that, then I know how much I need to eat. But if I exert more than that, occasionally I'll eat a third meal during the day. It's not too bad. Sometimes if I don't get hungry the second time, I eat only once a day. What is there? There is no rule that you should eat only 1 meal a day or 2 meal a day or 3 meals a day. Nobody has, don't go by these rules that are written in the book. Don't believe us. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe me. You have to trust your own body.
Of course, for runner, if you're a runner, your requirement will be more, and maybe the frequency will also increase. Because the metabolism will be faster, your digestion process will be faster. Then in that case, you have to eat more. Then again, it goes as per your lifestyle. Okay, so of course, then this is suitable for you, but then the frequency and the kind of meal and the amount of food will differ.
Right. So there's another one on low BP. So we already spoke about high blood pressure, but what if somebody has low blood pressure in the range of 50-90? What should be the diet and lifestyle management for them?
So for this again, we need to know the history why he has low blood pressure, and since how many years, and what he's been treating with. So all these things we need to know. Then only we can jump on the answer or solution for his
Right.
condition.
Right. So I'll just add for the participants here that, like Dr. Vikram said, we are doing a 30-day detox and fat loss program, which is aimed at, of course, weight loss and detoxification and improving our immunity as well. So if any of you would like to register that, please get in touch with us. We'll explain how the structure of the program is, but it is tailored for a one-on-one session with everybody. Yeah.
There will be assessment done for each individual. It will be understand what kind of that person is, what kind of lifestyle you're living, and accordingly, your routine will be charted, and not even charted. What kind of monitoring you should be doing on yourself. That those points we will highlight you. So which will be which will be understood, and it is very easy to follow.
Right. And it's developed in such a way that it works on the mind and body both. So we will be doing yoga, meditation along with describing a tailored diet plan. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So there's another question which says, is drinking warm water useful?
Yes, you should always drink warm water. If you have to drink water, you should drink warm water. In fact, even if you eat cold water, you should not eat water out of the fridge. When you drink water, even cold water, you should keep it in your mouth for a few seconds until it becomes the same temperature as your mouth, and then you slowly sip it or slowly gulp it. Go ahead, Saili.
Yeah, I was about to say that you have to see your body temperature, and accordingly your water temperature should match your body temperature. So as you mentioned, you have to keep it in mouth for a while, and that is helpful. Your body will get adjusted to that temperature, that water will get adjusted to the temperature, and then you should gulp it.
Right. Then there's another one on, what if I get hungry more than twice? Should I eat at that time or avoid eating?
Yes. If you get hungry more than 2 times, you should eat. But you have to watch what you are eating.
Also, you should try to find out if that hunger is true hunger or not.
Yeah.
What happens is, if we are eating a number of times during the day, the microbial population in our gut also gets used to getting fed that many times a day. And we may not be hungry, but they get hungry. And they will send the signal to the brain that, yes, I want some food. In fact, the kind of cravings we have, sugar craving, or eating something sour or eating something salty, those cravings come from the gut microflora we have. So if we maintain the proper gut microflora, then those cravings go down. Ideally, after 25, you should not really have to eat more than twice a day on a sedentary lifestyle. If you are having a very active lifestyle. See, if I'm Virat Kohli playing a 5-day test match, going 3 times a day outside in the sun and playing, then I may have to eat 5 times a day. But then I'll work everything out and I will digest everything properly. But if I'm the coach and I'm just sitting in the pavilion, then I don't need to eat as many times. But if I continue to eat as many times, then I will put on weight. It's very simple.
Yes, again, one more thing. You may get hungry when you see some particular food. If some favorite food is kept somewhere in fridge, if there is a cake. So that is, again, your psychology plays a major role in that. So you have to understand that signal as well, that are you really hungry, or you are asking for that cake. So
Right.
yes.
And then
Pooja, I think we have gone almost 10 minutes beyond an hour. So how many more questions do we have?
I think we can take 1 or 2, sir. Is that okay?
That's okay, because we have to be respectful of other people's time also. So I would say that whoever needs to leave because they have something else planned, we will not be offended if you leave. But those who want to stay and listen to this some more, they are welcome to stay. So we'll go on for a few more minutes.
Yeah, so we had a question on salt and iodine earlier. So I think there's a follow-up on that. They did not really understand if there can be deficiency by eating rock salt.
There won't be any deficiency if you eat rock salt, because basically all the minor, micro and macro minerals are available in that rock salt. So if you eat in good amount of quantity, what is required to your body, then there won't be any deficiency.
Okay. There was one that came by email which says that my mother of 77 years has problem of nocturia or nighttime urination. She goes once or twice in the night and is disturbed. Is there any solution for that? Her HbA1c is 6.3. She's on medication for asthma and blood pressure.
I think this lady is signed up for our 30-day detox program, if I'm not wrong. So if we can take it up during that time, will be better.
Yeah, sure. All right. So I think we've covered most of the questions, unless any of the participants want to ask. I know there were requests of asking questions in Hindi or Marathi. So please go ahead if anybody would like to ask their questions.
Please raise your hand, or I think now what we can do, Pooja, is let people unmute themselves.
And talk.
That we don't have to unmute them. So
yeah,
whoever is...
right. So until people do that, there's one: cooked vegetables or raw vegetables.
Okay, it depends. Not all vegetables can be eaten raw. So don't try to eat those vegetables which must be cooked in a raw form. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Okay. And even when we cook the vegetables, we should not cook them to death. We should cook them gently so that they are nicely steamed or stir-fried lightly, and then they are still crunchy. We should not cook them until they become very limp. So that's how we should cook our vegetables. I often eat stir-fry vegetables. I love stir-fried vegetables. I myself make those, and as soon as I finish making, I eat. Anyone else?
Let's see. I'm waiting for people to unmute themselves or raise hands. Okay, we have
Nivedita. They should raise
Nivedita.
hands first.
Yeah,
Nivedita.
we have Miss Nivedita who wants to ask a question. Go ahead, Nivedita.
Yeah, hello, doctor. Miss Hailey and Patarkani, doctor.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. See, we being vegetarian, I just wanted to know what food we should prefer for, B12 deficiencies and calcium, which have become very common in nowadays scenario. So what plant-based food should we have for B12 and calcium deficiencies?
Okay, so if you have leafy vegetable in combination with lime or vitamin C, this goes with the combination which helps in absorbing your calcium levels in vegan diet. And for B12 as well, soups mixed veg soups or raw even salads will be helpful to absorb good amount of B12. So, but there should be some consistency in eating these kind of food. You will not get results if you have just for a month or couple of months. If you want to be deficient free, specifically for B12 and calcium, minimum 3 months you have to give yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And as a general principle, as I said earlier, if we give our body any nutrient in excess of its requirement, then the body's ability to absorb that nutrient goes down. So we should give the body as much nutrient as it requires, and maybe slightly more, if at all. Not more than that. Thank you for asking this question. Thanks everybody for coming over. I think it's great to have all these people here. I think we've come to the end of our questions, and we will be happy to answer any further questions via email or via WhatsApp. There are contact numbers on our website, email address on our website. Feel free to communicate with us through our website. We'll be delighted to get back to you on that.
Yeah, and I've messaged the contact number where you can reach out to on the chat window. So please feel free to reach out if you would like to know more about the program, or if you have any questions for us. We'll be happy to connect with you.
Great. So I want to thank all the participants and Pooja, who has conducted this wonderful program, and Pooja's husband Amit, who has helped us in the background. But Pooja, if you want to formally close this meeting, please do that.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. So thank you, Dr. Vikram Saili, for your insights, and of course, all the participants who took time today and found value in this session. We'll be happy to connect with you if you have any more questions for us. So thank you so much.